So we're deep into Arizona. This is a really talented football team, and then looking at them last year, 8-1 on the road. So playing away from their home stadium is something that they were very comfortable doing last year, and had a lot of success doing it. Certainly got off to a fast start last year, and I know that just much like we did, didn't get off to the start they wanted to last week, but they got a lot of explosive elements to their game. It's probably the word that I would use to describe them most in all three phases. And we're hard at work getting familiar with these guys in all those phases. So it'll be a big challenge for us this week.
Wondering if there's any status report on Trayvon Merrick and Andre James, some of the other guys that.
Yeah, no reports. They're all obviously working to try to get out there and see how it goes. I'd say we'll see how today goes for some of those guys for sure. Hopeful that we'll get a few of those guys, if not most of them, back here soon. But they've all been getting treatment here now for 48 hours, and like I said, we'll see how today goes, and then try to evaluate it from there.
The Cardinals defense was really aggressive last week. I think they blitzed on over
Yep.
half of their snaps and played
Yep.
a lot of man coverage. How does it change, or how do you have to prepare for that as an offense when the defense?
Yeah, they were one of the top couple blitzing teams in the entire league last year, and then they obviously didn't change their philosophy last week. So, they generate a lot of negative plays, a lot of pressure on the quarterback, create a lot of third and long situations with negative plays with their blitz packages. Vance has always done a great job of being able to try to attack protections and formations with different pressures that he uses. He has a volume of them that's pretty extensive. So, for us, we're going to need to do a good job of obviously identifying exactly, where they're lined up at. They got a lot of different personnel groupings that they use, and very athletic blitzers, from Simmons to Baker to Collins. I mean, they all come, and when they come, they're coming fast. So, they basically threw the kitchen sink at Kansas City last week. And again, that's just awareness, communication, pre-snap, and then we got to follow your rules. I wouldn't say we've seen every blitz that they have, so we're probably going to get some things that are unique to us. And that's why we try to practice those things over and over again all year long, because when you face a team like this, it's going to test you in that manner. You're going to need to rely on what you know. You can't always predict where it's coming from. So this will be a big challenge just for our whole overall operation, our communication, and then our ability to do our assignments once the ball's snapped.
So much was made of Derek and Vontae playing at Fresno State. You go quarterback, wide receiver against this week that played at Oklahoma together.
Yep.
You have this throughout the league now, these guys coming back together. Just on with your two guys, could you tell that kind of cohesiveness? Is that overblown, that connection they have, and when they get this far in the league, or do you think there's something to that?
I think, if you spent time with, somebody, certainly you probably have a comfort level and a trust that's been built up over many years, many repetitions. We're trying to do that with different groups on our team, right now. I think every team in the league is doing the same thing. So whether that's, a corner and a safety playing together and getting that communication, a receiver and a quarterback, a center and a guard, there's an element of trust that you want to have, between two people that are working together. So there's no question that Marquise and Kyler, they played with each other. They know, there's body language. There's kind of like that unspoken, eye contact, that they probably have, I'm sure. So, there's no doubt that would help. There's no question.
Since you guys drafted Dylan Parham, you really made it an emphasis that you wanted to work him at all the interior spots.
Yep.
Was part of the reason for a situation like this where there's some uncertainty with Andre, and do you feel comfortable with him if he has to take snaps at center?
Yeah, this is why you have to play him at multiple positions, because in our game, there's definitely going to be an element of injury, at all positions, but certainly on the offensive line. And so, being able to be the next man up, whether that's at guard, center, tackle, what have you, is important. And we've always said it, like, the more positions that you can handle, the more value you bring to the team, because you can back up other spots. And and unfortunately, you don't have a backup for every man at the game. So some guys are going to have to back up 2 or 3 spots. And so there's no doubt that he did a good job of really playing multiple 3 spots really the entire time since he's been here. I think that served him well, not only to play guard on either side, but when he's playing guard, he's getting the calls from center, so that when he plays center, now he's doing the communicating. So it all counts for something, no question. Every rep he's taken has been valuable to him, and I know he'll be ready to go. He performed admirably last week, and whatever role he's going to play this week, I know he'll be ready.
Josh, been a lot of talk about the right side of your line, the center, and then Colton, but not a lot about John. When you watched his film and reviewed it, how did you think John Simpson played?
I think they, like I said, all of those guys, they played pretty tough inside, fought in protection. It's a good pass rush last week, no doubt about it. And we found ourselves in a few situations where, it was obvious pass, But I thought they all handled themselves very competitively. There were some little things that we saw that we need to do a little better relative to technique and fundamentals. When we do it right, I think we're pretty consistent. But that's what our repetitions and our practice will be for. And I thought that the film was very valuable to us. We saw elements of success when we were doing the things fundamentally the right way, and then when you don't, and you're playing against good teams that try to expose those things, it can be tough. So I thought John, like I said, I thought he was competitive in there. I thought that whole group was, and we're going to need him to be competitive again this week, for sure.
Anthony Averett went down. You guys went out and brought a couple cornerbacks into the building. Is there enough time to get guys like that ready and time to play Sunday?
We don't have a choice. So the game's on Sunday. So, that's just the way it is. We have guys on the roster and have guys on the practice squad, and now we've added a couple new faces here, to work in there, and we'll evaluate it as we go through the week. But that's the way the National Football League is. We'll be ready.
You broke down the film and looked at some of the decisions Derek made and sort of was forced to make under pressure. The distribution of passes, are you pleased with it, or are there some changes you'd like to tweak and see?
I just want the ball to go where it's supposed to, and sometimes the ball, like I said, I've always said this, the defense gets a vote. I wish I could tell you exactly where it's going to go on every play, but they get a vote, and so they'll have a vote this week, and so sometimes the coverage gets, distributed, so it forces the ball to go here. And sometimes just the nature of the play, the read is left to right or right to left, and they don't take away the first option. So, you go ahead and throw the football there. So, we definitely want to try to maintain our balance, but at the same time, I think the most important thing for our quarterbacks and our offense in general is to continue to try to take the positive play that the defense is basically saying, hey, go ahead, we're going to give you this, and we got to make smart decisions. So, there's some things we all learned, no question about it. Derek, we talked about a few things the other day that we're going to hopefully be better for this week. But distribution has a funny way of evening itself out throughout the course of the season. I've been in games where they don't take away Randy Moss and the ball goes there 20 times, and then the next week he has 3 targets, So, like I said, over time, those things tend to even themselves out.
I know you've been around some very good kickers in your day, but Daniel Carlson is on like such a run right now.
Yep.
What is it as a coach? I know you just had him for one game, but what does it bring to you? Like, how much confidence and comfort does it bring when you're like, hey, just send him out and make the field goal? There's no thought of like maybe he does or doesn't. You don't really have to be nervous about it.
It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we were fortunate. Dave and I have talked about this since we got here. Our specialists have been phenomenal. And when that's such a big part of the game, which it is every week, to be able to change field position in the punting game, to be able to convert all your scoring opportunities with your kicker, to pin people on certain spots, whether it's a kickoff or a punt. There's no doubt that that's an advantage. So, Didn't think we played our absolute best in general in the kicking game last week, which we'll try to improve on. But Daniel obviously went out there and converted the scoring opportunities and had the big kick there in the third quarter. So gives you a lot of comfort and confidence. And I know our team has a ton of confidence in both those guys.
Discipline on defense is always going to be very important, but with a guy like Kyler that's going to look to run and try to make some plays with his leg, how much more, do they have to, as a matter of fact, be locked in on defense?
Every play is an opportunity for something bad to happen when Kyler is on the other side. This guy is a special player, and there's not many players in the league that are like him, and certainly not many that I've coached against. I mean, first of all, I think the number one thing I would say about him is he's a really, really good passer. And he can read the defense. He can get the ball to all levels of the field. He can make every throw. He's very accurate. So that in its own, is a tough challenge. Then you combine that with his ability to either run the ball on designed runs or RPOs or zone read. And then every pass play could potentially be a loose play, and so he forces you to be absolutely on top of all your P's and Q's, and you can't take plays off and can't relax, because if you do, generally he makes you pay for it. So he's an exceptional player. This will be a huge challenge. Excited to have the opportunity to compete against him, but this guy is a really, really good football player.
Levi Hondo in the fall.
Coach, something that was interesting that you just kind of said is with schemes and how things work with Devontae's, you said Randy Moss would have 20 targets one game and then 3 the next. What are some of the comparisons between having a guy like Randy Moss and having a guy like Devontae Adams as your receiver in your offenses?
They're different players, totally. I think the comparison would be that the other team, again, I said it before, gets a vote in terms of how they're defended. And so when you have a player that is a very, exceptional route runner and can factor in the passing game like that, each team, will figure out what they want to try to do, if they want to try to do anything different to try to limit his production overall. And so the tough thing about that is, you may watch, 5, 6, 7, 8 games of a defense defending other teams, and and all of a sudden, you're putting your scouting report together, and it says that they major in these 3 things, but are they really going to major in those 3 things against you sometimes? And so we had to learn that. A long time ago, when we were dealing with that, you have to learn how to adjust during the course of the game, because what you see might not be what everybody else saw, and vice versa. They, like I said, they blitzed the Chiefs a ton last week. Whether they blitz us or not, I don't know that. We're all going to find out together. But at some point in the game last week, they started double teaming, Tay and Hunter, and then other people are going to have to factor. That's just the way it goes.
I was talking to a player that played for you at New England and asking him, what are players going through in game week? Because it's new, they're learning your system. Mm-hmm. He said that you get all the blood out of the turnip. Lots of film, a lot of teaching, not a lot of banging. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about how you felt they've accepted your new approach in that teaching.
I think they've done an exceptional job. I couldn't be more pleased with the way that they're going about their day-to-day. What we're trying to do is, and again, we're taking a long view. It's a long season, so we want to play our best at the end, hopefully. But we're trying to learn from each opportunity. We're trying to grow, and really, what we're trying to do is learn how we need to play each week. Because each team's different. Like clearly, we talked about Kyler's not the same as Justin, and this offense is different than last week's, and this defense is clearly different than last week's defense relative to the philosophy, et cetera. And so you just can't hit copy paste. I mean, that's just it's not the way I was taught and raised in terms of how to try to win. And they are absolutely gravitating towards, okay, what do you need from me this week? You know what I mean? How do we need to play this week? And so, very pleased with the effort, the attitude, and the approach that our guys come in here with every day. They came in here today and they had watched a lot of film, you know, and they had done that on their own. So you can tell that they're eager to try to find out what our plan is going to be. And I think that in and of itself is a process you go throughout the whole year. How do we get better at that process? We have to keep getting better. So next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be different than this, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So really excited about the look we see from them in their eyes, the urgency that they have.
Josh, Max and Chandler didn't get home, but they did get some pressures. What did you see, particularly out of Chandler, and then how might that translate against a more mobile quarterback like Kyler?
Yeah, you're right. We got close a handful of times last week, and again, I think we talk about this a lot. Our job when we rush the passer is not necessarily to sack the quarterback, but it's to affect him. And I think if you affect him, then you give other people an opportunity to make plays too. And if the coverage is doing their job and you're getting close, eventually you're going to get close enough to put him on the ground. So I think the pass rush and the pass coverage needs to be very complementary. This week in particular, you need to do a really good job in both. Because if you're undisciplined with the rush, it'll be a problem. And if you give him opportunities to just get it out of his hand quickly, then the rush will never have a chance. So this player is a very unique challenge for everybody. I mean, you put any game on, and the pass rush is different against this player than it is against most other quarterbacks. And that's because he deserves that type of recognition and attention. So they're going to need to be disciplined. The coverage is going to need to be, what it needs to be on a given play based on what we choose to do. And work together the entire time, every time they throw the ball, no doubt.
All right, thanks, Coach.
You good to go?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll see you. This weather's great, huh?